future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
A week, the amazing Florence Ajamian. And then later in the show, we're going to have internationally recognized singer-songwriter Julia Fordham. And she is going to talk to us about her journey here from the UK. So we'll be having her come up later in the show. Stay tuned for that. Right now, please give a warm welcome to Florence Ajamian. Hi, Florence. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here today. You look so fashionably elegant, as always. I know you were telling me that your mom actually made fashion designer clothes when you were a kid,
Yes.
so you've been fashionable all your life.
Yeah, my mother had a great fashion sense,
Yeah.
which I inherited.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
You're looking fabulous.
Thank you.
Do you feel like looking fabulous makes you feel fabulous?
To a degree.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
to a degree.
Yeah, because I
Right.
always feel that way. Like if I feel like I like what I have on, it
Yes,
makes me
correct.
feel good. And
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So I want to mention first that you are going to be on my Forever Young panel at the upcoming Live, Love, Thrive conference, which is November 4th
Correct.
here in West Hollywood. And we're so excited to have you on there with 5 other amazing women. All of you are over 80 and are still rocking it. I mean, you work 5 days a week. You are incredible.
Thank you. I also drive night and day.
I love that. Oh my
My,
gosh.
Eyesight is still very good, and my peripheral vision is still very good.
Oh, yeah. Well, and obviously you're definitely, your mind is really good. You know, you definitely remember more than I can. So we were talking about that on the phone a little bit yesterday, that you actually have memories from every decade.
Yes,
and
I do.
Yeah, we were
I
talking
do.
about how you even vividly recall when like Lindbergh crossed the ocean.
Yes,
And
in 1917.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that you said there was a big
No,
parade in New York.
1927.
Oh, 27.
Yes,
Okay.
right.
And there was a big parade in New York, the biggest ever.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I've read.
Yeah. And you were living around New York at the time, so.
Yes, I was living in Montclair, New Jersey.
Oh yeah, I've been to Montclair.
Yes.
So, were you at the parade?
No.
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 Okay, but it was close by, and you
I
remember.
have since read that it was probably the largest of its kind
Yeah.
down Fifth Avenue.
What are some other highlight moments you remember being a part of that are history like that?
Well, each decade had its own attraction,
Yeah.
I would say. And
So if
in
that was
the-
the 20s, what would you say was in the
well, in
30s
the
or
30s
40s?
was, of course, the Big Depression.
Oh
throughout
yeah.
the 30s. And fortunately, I was not affected to a degree of suffering.
Oh, how wonderful that you escaped that.
Right.
Yeah.
However, and of course, and movies, the movie industry was coming into its own at that time.
Yeah.
Also in the 30s.
People were probably just looking for an escape. It was like probably the
Yes.
perfect timing for
Correct.
something to
Yes,
get
it
people
was.
out of their depression,
Yes.
right?
Indeed.
Out of their depression about the depression.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's great. But did you know a lot of people that it did affect?
No. In the town that I lived in at the time, there was not a great lack of work,
Right.
I would say.
Oh, well, that was
Right.
good. Yeah.
So,
What about the 40s? What do you remember about that?
well, of course, the World War
oh, yeah.
World War II was
Yeah.
the big event of the 40s.
Yes, it was.
And,
the big horrible event.
And then the
Yeah.
post-World War II
Now you-
era and the start of the Cold War.
Right, and you
Right.
did tell me a sad story about the love of your life was.
Well, yes, I was engaged to a fighter pilot who was killed in World War II.
Oh my God, how devastating.
Yes.
How devastating. So he went off to war. You were planning to get married when he got back?
Well, I don't know that I thought that much.
Yeah.
I did not have definite plans because we were all enjoying being young
Right.
at the
Right.
time. Right.
Yeah. Well, I know you've really had a fun and really amazing life, and we're going to talk about that. You never did marry,
No.
right? But
no.
you told me you had a lot of boyfriends.
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
I can imagine so. Probably still do if I know you. Let's talk about the three men that you worked for in your life, because each one of them was so extraordinary.
Yes, they were.
So let's talk about the first one, which was he was a major.
Alexander D. Seversky.
Right.
He was an aviation pioneer and had been an ace in the Russian Air Force in World War I, and founded Seversky Aircraft Company, and designed and built the P-51 fighter plane. He also had patents for the first all-metal fighter planes.
And is he the one that created the autopilot, or was that someone else?
No, that was Sigorsky. Sigorsky, the names are similar.
Oh, okay.
This is Seversky,
Oh.
right.
Okay. Well,
And he also, along with General Billy Mitchell, was responsible for helping create the United States Air Force as a separate unit. Previously, the air flyers had been part of the Army.
oh, wow.
And then they became a separate unit, the U.S. Air Force.
So that was one of the three that you worked for. And then the
Yes.
second one was, his last name was Chalk.
Yes, Roy Chalk.
Right.
He wasn't so well known out here on the West Coast, but all along the East Coast. He was a well-known capitalist and had founded Caribbean Airways and introduced new routes to the Caribbean, namely Puerto Rico, Aruba, and Curacao.
Right.
And,
Now, is this the same Chalk's airline that does the seaplanes? Because I've been on that.
No, it doesn't exist now.
Oh.
But as a result of the new routes which he introduced, we saw the influx of Puerto Rican into New York City. And that is why there's such a large Puerto Rican population in New York City.
Wow, what a huge influence.
And finally, American Airlines bought Trans-Caribbean Airways primarily for the routes
right.
to the Caribbean.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's two of the three
Yes.
amazing genius men that you worked
Right.
with. And the third was Dr. Armand Hammer.
Correct.
And you worked with him how long? 20, 30 years?
No, I worked with him directly for a dozen years, but he founded Stop Cancer, the nonprofit to fund cancer researchers at USC, UCLA, and City of Hope. And I've been with them for almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years. So he
Dr.
founded it, and then
yes, right.
you
Dr.
developed all the
Hammer died
membership.
in 2 years after he founded Stop Cancer.
Wow.
He died in 1990.
Did he die from cancer?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
So how interesting.
ironically.
Yeah, ironic. Yeah.
And he needed a bone transplant, but he was too fragile at age 92 to undergo
Right. Right.
transplant. Yes.
Yeah. So what was that like working for Dr. Hammer? And I know a lot of people don't know, that he's with the petroleum. He was famous
Well, he
worldwide
founded,
with the
founded
Russians
Occidental Corporation.
Right, because some people mix it up with
Occidental
Arm and Hammer baking soda,
Petroleum
which it's not.
Corporation.
Yeah.
But he also was considered a citizen diplomat, since he knew personally all the world leaders at that time.
Wow.
And had dealings with them, and especially with Russia, and was responsible for introducing a half dozen or more American corporations into Russia, which is ironic since it was a communist state in the 20s.
Yeah.
When all this happened, yes.
Was there some espionage going on there? Who knows?
Well, I think that was going on all the time.
So why do you think you were attracted to working with these powerful men? What was your dad like?
My dad did not have a college education, but as I grew older, I realized he had a high IQ. He used to help me with my math, and he was also a great fan of French literature and introduced me to European literature.
Well, I know you were top of your class, and you were offered some scholarships, but you actually turned them down to stay in New Jersey, right?
Yes, I did,
so you could
because
take
my
care of
father
them.
had just been diagnosed with cancer.
Is that why?
himself.
Is that why you enjoy doing this work for Stop Cancer?
Yes, I do. There's the more personal element involved.
Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting because your mom grew up in an era where women didn't work, really. They were housewives, right?
Right.
And here you were a career woman from the get-go, and probably even earlier than most. I mean, it was just starting that women would have
Yes,
careers, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so you were a real trailblazer.
I probably now sometimes wish that instead of attending so many jazz clubs in the 50s in New York, that I had been going to law school at night at the time. Sometimes I wish I had done that.
You wish you'd been an
Yes.
attorney?
Well, just to have the knowledge of the law, right.
Right. But your life sounds really amazing, working for these incredible people that were so accomplished. And yeah, I know you enjoyed their how smart they were.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I do. I was always attracted to intelligent, intellectual
Right.
people, male or female.
Right. And you enjoy reading?
Well, I used to somehow managed to do more reading when I was younger and before the age of television.
Right.
I, of course, read constantly,
Yeah.
but since there are many good educational programs on TV, maybe not so much now,
Right.
but earlier, in the earlier days of television, that took up some of my time.
So, what's your favorite show right now? What do you enjoy watching?
The public broadcasting
Oh, me too.
station.
Me too. Let's hope that
and
stays
the
around.
Turner, I love the classical movies of the 30s and 40s.
Brings back good memories, huh?
So Turner
Yeah.
classic movies.
So, what do you think is the key to you having such a good memory like you do? What do you attribute that to? Is it what you eat? Is it that you exercise? Is it that you read a lot? Like, what's your secrets?
Part of it is genetic, of course, on my father's side. And I like to think part of it is divine interception.
Yes, right. Are you a spiritual person?
Yes.
Yeah. And that,
I am. I talk to my family all the time.
yeah. And
I've never had many relatives because my parents' families were killed in the Armenian genocide.
oh wow, I have a friend that wrote a book about the Armenian genocide.
Yes.
Yeah.
And incidentally, there's now a movie worldwide, in circulation worldwide, called The Promise, funded by the late Kirk Kerkorian, which covers somewhat, to some degree, the story of the Armenian genocide.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I've heard over there, they try to even, of course, deny that it happened and take it out of
Well,
the
it
kids'
was well,
history books.
well
and,
documented.
of course.
So
Yeah.
it's ironic that they should still persist in denying that
Yeah,
it
it's kind
happened.
of crazy, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, but it's a crazy world we live in.
Yes.
What would you say has been the most change in these 100 years since you've been here on the planet? Like, how it's been from decade to decade and how it is today with what's going on in our country.
Well, until Woodstock, and you probably all know about Woodstock, but until then, and the sexual revolution, life was more innocent
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Life was more innocent.
And you think that was a game changer, the 60s?
Right, and I'm sure that some of the changes since then have been good, but some have not. Morality, I don't think, has the strength that it did at one time.
Right, right. Morality, integrity.
Correct.
Yeah. I always think it's perception. It's where you're looking. So there are always really good people, a lot of integrity, a lot of, I think good people. And then there's also a lot of evil in the world. And we've seen that, especially rise up in this country this year.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
What do you think about what's going on right now with the movement that just happened with the white supremacist and stuff? Are you surprised to see that arising again? Did you think we'd already dealt with that?
Yes, right. No, that is a concern. I think the proliferation of nuclear weapons and the desire to increase nuclear weapons and moving from a lower level into the hydrogen bomb era is of great concern.
Yeah, I'll say.
Of great
I'll say.
concern.
So on a little lighter note, at 100, how do you have fun? Like, what do you love to do?
Well, there doesn't seem to be as much nightlife, except maybe on Sunset Strip, as much nightlife as when I was in my 20s and 30s. And so social activity now seems to center more about dinners and luncheons.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We used to have supper clubs where there was always dancing.
I know. Wasn't that fun? Why did
And
those go
yes,
away? I wonder
right,
why those went
right.
away.
And
Yeah.
but
There's a
but
supper
now-
club that we like downtown. It's called Cicada Club, and they have a big band and big band dinner and dancing.
Right.
But it's maybe once a month. And I know, back in the 40s and 50s when my parents were
Right.
around, every weekend was a big
Yes.
dance. And
Well,
Yeah.
the clubs were open during the week as well.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Were you a good dancer?
But I have a sense of rhythm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. If
So
I
you
had
love music?
If I had a good partner,
Yeah.
you can always follow a good partner.
Right.
And music, I like, and I'm familiar both with classical and jazz.
Mm-hmm.
In the 50s, all the jazz greats were in Manhattan.
And what about shows? Do you enjoy going to live shows, Broadway type shows?
Yes, I do.
You still enjoy that?
I miss the Broadway stage.
Yeah.
I miss the Broadway stage.
You mean from living in New York?
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
But you go here to
And yes,
Pantages
yes,
and
right,
yeah.
to the opera and the Disney concert
Yeah. So coming
hall.
from New York, I would think you love the arts. and-
Yes, I
yeah,
do.
Yeah. So what do you think keeps you young besides it being
Well,
you know,
I've been with Stop Cancer, the nonprofit organization that Dr. Hammer founded to fund cancer research, almost 30 years.
and have they made a lot of
And,
progress?
And, well, there has been a great deal of progress
Yeah.
in cancer research. there are many people with cancer today who would never be alive if they had lived 20, 30 years ago.
Right. And you guys have a big fundraiser coming up, right? Next weekend?
Yes.
October
our
8th?
annual run walk.
Yeah.
And then, but I feel that working at Stop Cancer, which had a very interesting core group of founders who were very dedicated and very active. We had great events, and I feel that all that work and activity contributed to my longevity.
I think so, because
Yes.
it's a passion of yours, gives you a reason every day to get up and know that you're
Yes.
making a difference in the world.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's stopcancer.org.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Is the,
So if people want to attend the October 8th event, the walk
it's
run,
15, Sunday, October 15.
or October 8th.
15.
Okay.
Right.
So they go to stopcancer.org.
Correct.
And then also they can donate anytime.
Yes.
And they can donate their time like
Yes.
you do, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Although I'm on the staff.
Oh, right,
Yes,
staff. But people
but-
but you take volunteers.
Yes,
yeah.
we do.
Well, I think it's great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And you've been doing it a long time. God bless you. And
Thank
I know
you.
you'll keep going and
I
keep
hope
making a
so.
difference.
I
you know,
hope so.
that's all we need in this in this lifetime is to leave a legacy of making a difference, and that's what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Looking forward to the event, and
Yes.
hope that our listeners will join and look up stopcancer.org. And thank you, Florence Ajamian, for being on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we will be right back with Julia Fordham. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to the Live, Love, Thrive show, where we bring you powerful and positive programming about women and those who support women's empowerment. It seems by sharing their stories and showing us their talent and potential, they remind us of our own. We ask you to join us weekly by taking a minute to subscribe to our 360 Karma YouTube channel so you get to see every episode of these uplifting and inspiring stories. We all need more of this, yes? And did you know we have the Live, Love, Thrive book on our 360 Karma website and on Amazon? If you enjoy reading books of incredible women who are doing amazing work in the world, you will want to pick up a copy. Also, when you join 360karma.com, you will enjoy our growing video content of expert advice and support, and learn about our workshops and our second annual Women's Conference in West Hollywood, November 3rd and 4th of this year. If you would like to align with a like-minded, purpose-driven community, you will feel at home at 360karma.com. We encourage and support you to live the life you love.
RTB Financial Group empowers women to raise the bar and take control of their financial future. For more information, visit rtbfinancialgroup.com or call Amanda Barr at 424-284-4216. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with Julia Fordham. Hi, Julia. How are you?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good about myself because I'm okay, but I am nothing on the great Florence.
Right?
I mean,
Ajamian.
100 years old.
Florence Ajamian. You just told,
Ajamian, I just love it. And
but you have the same sense of humor as your sister. You just sat down and told me you were 101.
I said, I want to outdo Florence. I'm 101. You think Florence looked good? Look at me.
I've had your sister Claire on before, who is a fabulous writer.
Wonderful writer.
and
So
look-
funny. Laugh out loud funny.
Yes, and then here you are, a singer-songwriter. I mean, what a talented family.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you told me your brother's an actor.
No, my brother's also a singer, but my
singer.
daughter.
Oh,
was
your
in a
daughter's
movie.
an actor.
She's an actor and a dancer.
I knew there was all these artists in your family,
there were.
but not your mom and dad.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah.
No, but I think they were post-war, so they were kids in the war, and I think
Yeah.
they came into the suck it up and get on with it
Right.
era.
Yeah.
So I think if you
where
had
people
any-
didn't really pursue
No, you did
that
not pursue it.
artistry.
No.
Yeah.
So that you you hunkered down and you
Hunkered
got
down,
a job
yeah.
and you paid that mortgage, you know.
Right, right. That sounds like a very British thing, hunkered down.
We like to hunker down. We do.
You all do.
We do. We don't.
You're
really-
hunkerers.
Yeah, we're kind of amazed when people know how to barbecue and hang out and have a good time on a Sunday. We're like, oh, we've got to-
I know. You all need to loosen up a little.
yeah, we're just who we are, but we do all right.
But you guys do have a great sense of
We have a
humor.
sense
I
of
mean, look
humor.
at, what's his name? Benny Hill.
Benny Hill, but we like to have a decent cup of tea in the afternoon. That is true. My sister
Yeah.
Claire and I, who were talking about.
Oh, I
the-
even like
the
that.
writer, and yeah, we actually
Maybe I'm part British.
we stop. We do have. I used to have when I had a significant birthday. I was like, what am I going to change? Because I'm always like, I'm a doer. I'm a great doer. I don't like to be. I like
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I thought the change I will make is instead of walking around with my afternoon tea, I'm going to sit down and have it.
Yeah.
It's really hard. It took me quite a few years to make myself go, I'm sitting down having the tea now and I'm not doing anything. I'm so relaxed.
I think that's me too. I relate to this. But yeah, we are doers, not beers.
Yeah.
Right, right. And what's that thing you got to do? You think, do, be? Think, do, be. So if you do, then you be.
I like do.
I'm not going there. Shooby-dooby-doo.
Shooby-dooby-doo-doo.
So, at 14, you were writing music.
See what I'm saying?
I mean,
Like,
yeah,
I was-
you were a doer then.
The do was
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, I mean, my first song I actually wrote when I was 12. I saw two girls sing "The Streets of London," which was like a big folk song
Yeah.
in England. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it was with our Bob Dylan. His name was Ralph McTell. He had this song called "The Streets of London," and they also sang "Blowing in the Wind."
Oh,
And they
I
were,
love that.
I was like still trying to find my place because they were like the hip girls, the good-looking girls, and the sports girls. And I was just like, I don't know who my tribe is. And then these two girls got up and sung with these guitars, and I was like, that's my tribe.
Oh,
How do I get
wow.
in their gang?
Oh, my gosh.
And, I
And you
joined
saw
their
that at
gang.
12?
I did at 12, and then one of
Wow.
them had a guitar. And
What took you so long? No.
Well, that's when I realized that maybe that was my thing. You
Yeah.
know, because I immediately became obsessed, and I got my
Yeah.
3 chords, and then I immediately started writing really bad songs. Not that bad necessarily.
Do you remember the first one?
Absolutely, 100%. I will
Okay,
not
let
be
me hear
sharing
it.
it with the rest of the world. But
Yeah.
it was a social conscience song about
Oh.
a tramp who was like this poor tramp who's on the road and nobody cares about him. So even then, I was trying to find the angle. But yeah.
I love it. But you were caring about
I
somebody.
was.
Like,
that
yeah.
was my first song.
Yeah, I like that. And you've been writing songs for how many years? We won't
Well,
say.
I
For
don't mind. I'm
decades.
fine. Yeah, for
For
decades.
decades,
But
yeah.
I mean, by the time I got to 14, so I'd been doing it for like 2 years, I was already in the folk club singing them. So I would
Right.
go to the open mic nights. And that's when I heard other people's songs. So that's the first time I heard a Joni Mitchell song was
Oh,
by
yeah.
somebody else
That's
singing
magic.
it. Because they used to have the guest singer and then the local people. I was a local folk. You would get up and do a song. So I thought that the criteria was that you had to do your own song. So I didn't realise that this woman sang Case of You, so I thought she had written it. And she came out, I was like, that's the most brilliant song I've ever heard. It's so wonderful. And she went, yeah, I know, right? And I was like, God, that's a bit arrogant. No, where's your humility, lady? Where's your... And then it transpired that when I finally heard the Blue album, I was like, oh, wow, that's the song I heard in the folk club. That lady didn't write that song. It's called A Case of You by Joni Mitchell. And that was sort of like life-changing.
Right.
Hearing that song of that caliber at 14, and I think in the singer-songwriter genre, Joni's probably the benchmark. I mean, I also love Joan Armatrading and Ricky Lee Jones. I
Oh,
always called it
yeah.
Keeping Up with the Joneses. I did think about changing my name to Julia Jones at one point. When I was first coming out.
That's funny. And you've worked with some amazing people. I mean, and at one time you were working with Grammy Award-winning producer Larry Klein.
Well, Larry
right?
Klein was
Right.
married to Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
an amazing bass player. And, I heard Larry before I met him. And in fact, I was just talking about this yesterday to a couple of musician friends of mine. And Joni's record, the opening track is the song called Chinese Cafe. And on it, she morphs into the song Unchained Melody. But that song starts with this unbelievable bass and drums intro and the harmonics that Larry Klein played on that. I was like, wow, who's this guy? And again, this is like way before the internet, so you can actually find information out, and then it transpires that, wow, you know, he's like this young 23-year-old guy, and Joni's married him, and she's much older. This is like the hippest thing ever.
Yeah.
So
and didn't he work with Carole King and Herbie Hancock?
He's worked with everybody.
With everybody.
Klein's a phenomenal producer, arranger, and musician. But to finally meet Joni Mitchell, which I did, when I met Joni Mitchell, she said to me, my husband loves you. You must come meet him. So then I got to meet Larry, and I got invited to their house, and my 4th album, Falling Forward, was recorded at their house.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
at their house.
I know, it was
What
crazy.
a cool story.
I know, isn't that crazy?
You must have been like, this is surreal.
It's surreal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
surreal. And Joni was sat.
Did you tell her that story about the song that you thought the woman
didn't.
took
I
the
mean,
credit
what can
for?
I tell you? I'm like a mute when Joni's on. She would describe me as that very quiet, shy girl from England. Because whenever, I mean, first of all, she's a spectacular raconteur.
Yeah.
Joan, as people call her mates, but not saying that I'm a mate. But I hold her in the highest regard, and she knows that, so she senses that from me. But I completely defer. You know, when Joni's in the house, I'm not like, so Joan, how's it going? I just, tell us about the time that you had an affair with Graham Nash. That must have been great. No, I mean, I just listen.
But you probably could have.
Well, this is when you meet your living icon.
Yeah, you're just speechless.
I am.
Yeah.
It's not just that I'm speechless. I'm a good talker, but I'm a brilliant listener, and I know when to not talk. So when I had so much quality time with Joni, that as this 14-year-old person, I had no concept or could not even, you know, when people like, you know, create your future, which part of me was going to go, well, I'd like to be in the kitchen with Joni Mitchell and hear what she's got to say.
Yeah.
That's when I know not to talk. And there are things that Joni has shared with me that to me were clearly intimacies that I would never repeat.
Right.
Because she doesn't have to go just between us, obviously, because I can tell that that's private.
Yeah.
But I can also tell that she's telling amazing stories. So as time went on over this record, I mean, I sort of did reveal more of myself, and I did make her laugh a few times. She was talking to me on the phone once, and she said, you know, the last time I saw Lennon was New York in like '63, and I said, oh, I thought that was Richard in Detroit in '68, because you know, she's got that song. The last time I saw Richard was Detroit, and she went, that is both funny and clever. It is clever and funny. No, and then she carried on. So I think, and then like, this voice in my head was like going, "Shut up! Do not tell any jokes. Your favorite living icon is chatting to you." But this incredible story went on that she says, and I said to Lennon, I said, "John," he said, "Yes, John." I said, "The love song is dead." And then she went on to share this like unbelievable conversation. And I was with a colleague of hers, and I went, "Should I be taping this?" Wisdom and gems are falling from her lips. And he goes, "She always talks like that." But I felt like it was so privileged to hear her talking that I should be capturing it.
She talks like how she writes music.
Yeah, I mean, she's a living genius. Woman's a genius. So I had this incredible story.
Now, what about let's turn it back to you. Speaking of incredible genius, to write your music, and you have such a unique voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know we talked about that a little bit before. Was about how when you were young, you realized that you had this both super low voice and super high voice that was kind of different than anybody else, that set you apart. And that you had a friend that was discouraging about it, but then you had other people that were supportive, so you kind of were caught in between that.
When I discovered the two girls in the assembly I was telling you about, and then I'm at the folk clubs, and I'm hearing women sing in a middle to high range. I'm still yet to really discover low singing women.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, Karen Carpenter a bit, but later, that woman has a low voice. So I would be going to this folk club and singing in my mid and high range, mainly because the first person I showed the very low singing part of my voice to was my little best friend at school called Claire Manning. We call her Little Claire. She was very, very posh. And I said, look, I would sing her my song. She'd go, "Oh, darling, it's marvelous." And then I said, look, and I can do this other thing. And I sang her this song that I'd written in this really low part of my voice. And she was like, "Oh, no, darling, that's just not normal and it's not right." And I strongly advise you to keep that to yourself. Those were her words. You've got to keep that to yourself. So I did, because I thought it was so convincing. She's my only person I'm sharing my songs with. But the irony is that as the years went by, the next person I sort of thought, well, I'll show them, was a musician, guitarist, who was like, "Wow, your songs are amazing, and your voice, your range is so big, and you've got that middle of that high." And I went, "I can also sing really low. And I showed him the low part of my voice. He was like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. But the irony is I'm still friends with my best friend from school, Claire, and we still laugh about how she said, you know, you better keep that to yourself, because my first big hit was like, don't ask me why. And that's in the lowest part of my voice. So I'm really glad that I ignored my best friend's advice to keep that to myself.
She must be laughing about that
We
today.
laugh every time I see her. She's like, and it's a good job. You took my advice and kept that to yourself, not, you know.
And that what was the name of your first hit? The
Happy Ever After.
Happy Ever
that
After,
was the opening
yeah.
line of Happy Ever After.
And you have, you know, I know you've done many albums, but you have a new one that
I do.
Mixed, Shaken.
I have. Well, I have.
Is that the newest one?
The one I have, like
Mixed, Shaken, and Stirred.
Mixed, Shaken, and Stirred is a curious project that was done by other people, where they took songs from my first album, and that Happy Ever After was on, and they put amazing remixes and beats and groovy things underneath it. Now,
Oh, cool.
all I did was say yes. I have.
Yeah.
I don't feel attached to that record, but it's fabulous if you like that sort of thing.
Right.
So imagine my voice, if you will, with lots of like hip rhythms and funky beats under. I'm sure my daughter would like it. But the current project that I have is I have two. One is called The Language of Love, which is a jazz project. Basically,
wow.
Florence was talking earlier about the clubs in the 50s. I've just invited Florence actually to come see me play at the Catalina Jazz Club in Hollywood on October the 18th, because I was invited to do a jazz record by JVC, a record company in Japan, and they wanted me initially to do a covers. It was like everyone has done the world's best cover album, starting with the greatest singer ever, Ella Fitzgerald.
Right.
I just don't think anyone. I mean, Diana Krall's done amazing covers of the American songbook. So
Right.
my producer Grant Mitchell, who's here, pianist, arranger, amazing musician. We presented to them the idea: what if we took songs, for example, like Debbie Harry Blondie's "Call Me," and turned that into like a 6/8 swing kind of vibe? Or,
Oh my
or
God, that sounds
Yes,
great.
or we took, say, 10cc's "I'm Not in Love" and made it into this sort of sparse piano trio. And they said yes, and we feel we made a really fresh-sounding record.
Now,
you
is
know.
that the music you're going to play at the October,
Well,
or some of
the thing
everything?
Is that I have to do some of everything because people want to hear Happy Ever After.
right.
Manhattan Skyline was my hit here, really. Love Moves in Mysterious Ways. Porcelain, obviously. Girlfriend. So I never just do all of an album. We
Right.
do 5 songs from the album, then we do what we call hits and favorites. And, you know, people, you know, I did a request tour once, so I know what songs people want to hear. So
Right, right.
we're going to be sharing also the songs from our other recent record, which is called, it was basically a live record. It's called Live and Untouched because we didn't do anything to it. We just got one of those CDs after a gig once. It sounded really great. So Grant made it sound better, my producer who's here. But
Do you like touring?
I do, yeah. I'd tour much more if there was more gigs like that.
So I know you have the one coming up here in Los Angeles, and then at Joe's Pub in New York.
Yes, I'm playing Joe's Pub. In October, I'm playing San Francisco on the 13th and 14th of October.
Oh, beautiful.
So back to LA. Actually, I do live here, so it's not like I'm coming over from England. So October the 18th in LA. And then at the end of the month, on the 27th and 28th, I'm playing at the fabulous Joe's Pub in New York.
Yeah, that's iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So you like touring? You like? Is it nice to get that immediate feedback?
Well, you know, I like to travel.
Yeah.
So
Oh, me too.
I like to travel. So I really see that my gift that comes through me are my songs and my voice. And that has been the vehicle that has taken me all over the world.
Wow.
So Happy Ever After took me to India because it was used in a charity project, and we were invited to the opening of a school that had been wiped away in the tsunami. We were swept away by that song.
Yeah.
I've been to the Philippines because of my voice. There are places I'd still like to go, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, with my voice.
Yeah.
But I've been all over Europe and all over America, and so I just like
You love traveling,
I like
sharing
being
the music.
who I am. Yeah.
I would think as a songwriter, it's just such a high to have people appreciate your
Yes,
music.
yeah.
And, you know, you were sharing with me that the songs, just like a lot of songwriters talk about, they just you kind of almost seem to be a conduit to
Yes.
it, right? Like it just comes to you.
Yes.
You told me you don't like try to write it.
No.
It just kind of downloads.
Yes. And then when I have faith when
Which
I don't
is why I
have
don't
it.
write any songs. No
You're
downloads.
still waiting.
No downloads. And I'm not going to try.
But I mean, I'm quite disciplined as well.
Yeah.
So I don't go, right, I'm going to make myself write a song. I wait to receive something. So when
Right.
it comes through me,
Yeah.
so say like one day I go, don't ask me why I'm running out of laughter. I'm like, oh, that's good. And then I'll just keep working on that. And then I'll make myself put the time aside to do something. I used to do that, in the earlier part of my career.
Right.
But now that I'm a mother, everything I do is like, I'm driving the carpool, the kids get out of the car, goodbye. We've had like the loudest pop music for 40 minutes. And then I become disciplined and I work on that idea that's trying to come through, but it can't because 3 kids are singing the latest Bruno Mars song at the top of their voices.
Right.
You know.
So your advice to someone if they're listening that would want to be a songwriter is you do have to put yourself in some sort of quiet environment, like most artists, whether they're going to paint or write music or write a book or whatever. They have to have some quiet, because in the energy of everything going on around you, like you're saying, the kids or their music or whatever, it's hard to allow something to download, right?
Here's the honest truth. If a song's going to find me, it doesn't matter if there are 3 kids yelling at the tops of their voice. That song comes through me. And if the radio is on, they're all singing, there's an argument, someone is hoovering, and there's a lawnmower man.
Yeah.
That song still comes through me. And then I go, now I will find a quiet space.
To put it down.
I don't have to be quiet for it to come through. It's the strangest thing. But all of the songs have always come through me. I have never gone, I'm going to write a song about porcelain and I treat,
Right.
So, but then what I will do is I recognize, I love that, the book by Elizabeth Gilbert, the
Eat, Love, Pray.
The following one about the big magic and how I know sometimes when the magic has found me, but then I'm like, now I have to wait for the kids to get out of the car.
Right.
But that's when I'm
to write it down.
Yes.
Well, write it down.
I don't even write it down. I just remember it. It's weird.
Wow.
But what I don't do is like when everyone's going, hey, we're going for coffee. You want to come? No, I don't. I don't want to chat. I don't want to come to coffee.
Yeah.
I want to receive what I've been sent and do my job on the earth, which is to write it.
Right. So in that respect, you're not going to let something sidetrack you because you know that you're feeling that download.
Yeah. So when I've got the download, that's when I'll try and create the space. When I'm like, I'm now either going to take that tea and sit in that room or go there, but it just comes in.
Because the world is such a frenetic place.
Yes.
We're so busy with, here in LA, traffic and people, and I think it is hard for any artist, writer or singer or actor or whatever, to let it manifest without it being sometimes quiet. Go over to the beach or go out to the country or something like that.
Well, the trouble is with our society, and especially the kids today, and I keep saying to my child, it's like, it's okay to be empty.
Yes.
And I'm very good at that.
Right.
I don't have to have the TV on, the radio on, be on the phone, post, bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
People
are overstimulated.
Completely, the kids are bonkers overstimulated.
Right.
Where's the peace? There's no peace.
Right.
So I'm quite happy to
Yeah.
be by myself, go places by myself. I walk for an hour every day by myself.
Yeah.
And I need that, you know.
And I love what music brings to people. It literally affects how they feel.
Right.
Music can give you that sense of peace or happiness or just you know, provide like a memory. You know how you'll hear music and you'll bring up a memory. I'm sure all of your songs have memories attached to them, either when you wrote them or playing them in a specific place with somebody or.
Well, I think also that for some people, music is a distraction and they don't really like music. Like other people prefer TV shows, or they like the news, or to see the headlines, or they like that book, or they. So I think that, I mean, I will still come back to music that I loved in those formative years in my teens, like excellent singer-songwriters. Like I still think, you know, like John Martin was a wonderful English singer-songwriter, or Scottish. I'm going to be beaten by all Scottish people, including my own producer out there, Grant Mitchell. But there's something that was so timeless and brilliant about his music, and the same with Joni. You know, I think it's in a class and league of its own.
Right.
But I like a lot of the stuff today. My favourite current artist is an astonishing singer called Laura Mvula, and she's just absolutely fabulous.
I've heard of her.
I strongly urge you to be blown away by her greatness. And Leanne Havas as well. Both these women are young British women who are just doing phenomenal singing and songwriting. Incredible.
And your daughter, she's an artist also? What does she do?
Well, she's a really fantastic dancer. I mean, she's just absolutely great. She's also...
What about you? Are you a dancer?
Well, you know, I'm quite a convincing tap dancer, as it happens, Catherine. I could leap up on this table now and show you a shuffle
Could you please?
But I feel compelled to express myself in a slightly different way. But she's always like drawing. She's always like, she likes to do lists. I mean, the people are who they are. I mean, that kid, 5 years old, I don't like books, Mum. I hate reading. She's saying it to this day.
But she wasn't making lists then, was she?
She was. That's my point. Every day, because the school would be, I would make her...
I'm a list person.
She would have to stop doing her list and her free doodling. And I used to think, I'm not sure this is right, because you've got to do your 20 minutes reading. I don't want to read. I want to draw pictures. No, stop doing that really creative thing, because we've got this box we've got to tick saying you did 20 minutes. But as I was doing it, I knew it was wrong.
Right.
And I want
let people
all of you out there to know that she's got to 12 now, and I've finally given up. I will never again say the words, have you read that book? Because I don't care. She's this strident personality who is who she is.
Right.
And she wants to make lists and draw things and design things. And she's always, since she was 5, gone, this is how I want my house to look, and drawn her house.
And what about what she wants to do in life? Because I know you shared with me, your parents were always like, you know, you want to do music? What? You have to get, you have to get paid. You know, this is like, but when you finally got your first album, then they were like, oh, okay, like, oh,
sense.
You're getting paid. Okay, then it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're not, it's not okay. But I was quite old. I was like hurtling towards 43 before I had this perfect baby, and a lot of things that we all do that our parents said or did, we maybe swing too far. But one thing that I have done is I have just gone along with. So when she was in preschool,
except the lists. No,
I'm
just kidding. I'm kidding.
Even those, I've always affirmed, like, that's amazing. You're so organised. That's so wonderful that you're designing your house.
Oh, that's nice.
I know that from all the parenting books I've read.
Yeah.
But I've also, when she was 2, she was like, she had her face painted. She went, Mum, I want to be face painter, paint facing person when I grow up. So I was like, brilliant, be a paint, So what did she want to do? I said, she's going to paint faces. And then it was, I want to be, an actor. Fine, be an actor, that's fantastic. Then it's, I want to be a dancer, that's fantastic. Now it's, I want to be an architect, I want to be an interior designer. So whatever she says,
supportive.
I go, more than supportive, I go, that's fantastic, that's a great idea. I think you'd be great at that. Let me know if you want me to help you look that up, what you need. But I don't have to do that because she's naturally, innately proactive.
That's awesome.
She's
she
always
sounds
looking
amazing.
up, what she's going to do, what you need. She was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get into UCLA, but I'm looking at my current grades. I better step that up. And if I want to be an architect, I need math. She's just naturally.
She'll figure it out. But you're letting her.
I let her.
But that's great. More mothers need to do what you're doing, which is encourage their daughters to be whatever they want to be.
Yes.
And that's where a good thing that's changed in our culture.
Yes.
More and more women are like you that are empowering their daughters. So how wonderful is that?
Well, I'm in a part of an amazing group called a mother-daughter group, which I can take no credit for. I know there's an amazing mother woman called Dawn Fine in Topanga where I live, and she came to me with this idea and a few other mothers. And it's based on a book written by 2 therapists. And they had noticed how many young teens were coming in with eating disorders and suicidal tendencies and being disconnected from their mother because they're growing up in a very changing world, a lot of pressure. I mean, talk about the visual things that we were supposedly exposed to from magazines and movies. Now it's like every 5 seconds, I don't have enough likes, I'm not thin enough. So I'm part of this group, and they teach you in the book, it's called the Mother-Daughter Project, if any of you want to read it. It advises you how to react and not react, and what to say and what to do, and how to guide them, and when to be hands-on and when to be hands-off.
I love that. The Mother Project.
Mother-daughter project.
Mother-daughter project.
Yes.
I love that. Well, listen, I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank
I know
you.
you're
It's
in
lovely to
LA
meet.
at
Yes.
the
Catalina Jazz
Catalina
Club in
Jazz Club.
Hollywood on October the 18th.
October the
Please come.
18th. Wonderful.
Thank you.
I know we have your fans out there listening,
Wonderful.
and
Thank
and probably just garnered some new fans. So, thank you for being on so much,
Thank you so much for
Julia.
having me. Thank
and we'll look forward to your upcoming performances, both in LA, New York, San Francisco, and who knows where else. Hopefully,
The world
Australia
and
and New
beyond.
Zealand.
I need to get there.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Make it a great day. Hugs and happiness.